You ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 155. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on the website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, it's been a week. It's been a little more than a week, actually.
It has.
What is going on?
You know, it's really freaking cold for Texas. Winter has come.
What is the temperature right now in Texas?
Oh, gosh, put me on the spot. I don't got my phone.
Roughly.
I would say it's probably about 45.
Ooh, that actually is
Maybe
a lot colder
cooler
than I anticipated you saying.
Last night, holy cow, freezing rain, man. It's a crazy time to be alive.
What is happening?
Seriously, it's November.
Because it's 40 degrees outside right now here.
Ooh, Utah? Yeesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cold. It's supposed to get down to 27 tonight, so it's going to be a cold one. And we're just not used to that here. There's all sorts of warnings all over. Be careful, be careful.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it's just when it's wet. We don't know how to drive in the ice. We're not trained.
Yeah.
But yeah, that cold front came through and it just has kind of rocked it, which is nice, though. It's nice to get some cooler weather, and it'll be perfect back up in the 60s by the weekend, so can't complain about that.
Is that kind of where it usually resides most of the year, like during the wintertime?
Yeah, the winter is going to be around the 60s in November and December. And January it'll get cooler.
Yeah.
There's a lot of days that are cool like this. Really cold. For me, really cold. But somewhere around, sometimes it'll get in the 70s. It's just perfect. For like six months out of the year, it's perfect weather. And then it warms up and it's really hot for about 4 months. So, you know, you pick your battles.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I know it. So that's the weather. Small talk.
Yeah.
But other than that, this week has been pretty chill. We didn't really go anywhere, didn't really do anything, just took care of the kids and hung out and been anticipating our Disney Plusness. And I played more Luigi's Mansion, and I beat it tonight.
Ooh.
Actually. Yep. Took me about 13 and a half hours. And my quick review, it's a lot of fun, but I would play it more in chunks than I would like trying to beat it, because it kind of drags a little bit if you do it that way. It gets kind of Red Dead on me, a little bit long for what it is, and the gameplay gets a little bit repetitive. And the puzzles are, yeah. So it's a great game. Recommended. However, a little bit, I don't know. A little bit of a lull at times.
Okay, I get that. There are games that are like fun to play in chunks here and there, but not necessarily something you're going to power through.
Yes, and I did, because I wanted to beat this one. I don't like having games in my backlog. I hate knowing that there's games that I have not yet beaten. It drives me insane. And so I was like, okay, I already have Astral Chain in my backlog, along with The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And Star Wars is coming out this week.
Yes.
And I have to beat one of those games or I'm not going to sleep at night. So I was like, Luigi's Mansion is the most plausible. And I haven't beat Spider-Man yet either. So I was like, Luigi's Mansion, I'm going to focus on that. Got it done. So that was kind of the big event.
So are you going to start another game prior to Star Wars?
No. Probably not. I don't see... Yeah, I'm probably not even going to pick up anything to play at all.
Hmm.
I mean, unless I get real bored, try and play Astral Chain. I'm almost done with that one. And Spider-Man, I'm probably 3/4 of the way through that. So
Oh yeah, you could still knock out more of that before Star Wars comes.
Yeah, if I get time. It's hard with the baby to justify that. On the Switch, it's a little bit easier because I'm out there and I can like rock the baby and do what I need to do out there in the presence of my wife.
Sure.
So it appears that I am there.
Sure.
And so I feel less guilty sometimes. At least with the newborn. With Emmy, it didn't matter, but now that we got the newborn, so that's the advantage of the Switch. That's why I love all the Switch advertisements now when you watch them on YouTube, who watches ads now? But they're all about like older parents with like kids.
Right. Yeah.
Being able to fit it in when you can, or play it with your kid while you can, and then play it by yourself later.
And now you fit into that demographic.
It's so funny. I do. They're advertising to me, like the young fathers. You're like, oh, okay, perfect. You're right. This is perfect for me.
No, I totally get that.
So, I don't know. That was pretty much. We didn't even do anything this weekend. Just kind of hung out. I mean, watched some sports. Set up Christmas a bit. Kind of got that rolling, and that was it.
So funny that you said set up Christmas, because we did some of that here this weekend too.
Nice.
So my weekend actually started off pretty miserable. Middle of the day Friday around noon, like 11:30 noonish, I started vomiting at work.
Gosh. Oh, please no.
And it wasn't pretty. And I realized like this wasn't going to be like a one and done thing. Like it was going to be a thing. And so I kind of tried to time rounds, we'll say. And I booked it for home. And I got home just in the nick of time. And then I was home the rest of Friday afternoon, and I was sick all the way through pretty much all of Saturday. And then Sunday I felt better. I still didn't feel 100%, but I felt better. Got up, went to church, came home, and then I just kind of like looked around and said, you know what? Let's start pulling junk out of the basement for Christmas.
Yeah.
I want to get it out of the way because I'm planning on streaming this week in the evenings, and I just want to get it because it's in a closet and I have to kind of pull it through my area that I used to stream and record the podcast. And I was like, let's just at least move it out of the closet so it's ready.
Yeah.
Well, then I decided to actually haul the Christmas tree upstairs. And we actually have our Christmas tree up and decorated, and we have all of our garland that's like pre-lit that we wrap around our banister and like in our kitchen above our cabinets and kind of over the fridge area. I've got all that up and plugged in.
Nice.
So we're not fully decorated for Christmas, but we've got a considerable amount of it done. I mean, the tree's the big thing because it does take a while, and the boys were excited to decorate the tree, and so we've got all that done. That happened this weekend. I was like sick as a dog. I was like sweating, still running a fever, and I'm like pulling stuff and climbing, and I'm like, if I can move, I'm gonna try to sweat and break this fever. And it finally did, like late Sunday afternoon. Like it was pretty rough. But anyway, got over that. So I'd say we're probably a good 70% set up for Christmas in our home now.
Nice, yeah.
We still got a bunch of stuff to do, but it's all like little things, setting up a couple nativities, setting up stockings and some other stuff. So, work has been actually pretty well this week. My boss is in town. He came out so we could have a bunch of meetings to try to plan some big projects and answer some questions and collect some information. We're trying to kind of push the needle forward on a few things at work that, how to put this, requires us to very carefully and selectively have conversations and gather information so we can make a use case for why we want to extend certain tools to the business and help align the company here with the rest of the company as far as some of the IT tools, access, shared data, stuff like that. Because that was kind of the direction we were going, and then some things kind of happened, and it kind of put everything on hold. And so he's kind of on a fact-finding mission, and we're gathering data and taking notes. And then the other side of the equation is, since my boss is here, we actually have a whole bunch of interviews scheduled to find me someone to work, do an IT help desk, an IT specialist that I will be managing, and that person will be taking over a bunch of kind of my day-to-day stuff on the help desk ticket side of the world.
That's
nice. I can focus more on some other responsibilities that I'm having a hard time honestly focusing on because I have to do everything.
Right.
And we had some really good interviews. I think we found the person today.
Nice.
And so we're going to bring this candidate back for a second round of interviews and then extend an offer if it goes well.
Cool.
So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. The person's got the right personality, the right skill set, could hit the ground running right off the bat. So, anyway, more details to come. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to jinx it. Like that's my fear, right? Is not that this person's listening, not that anyone from work is listening or anything, but there's something that says I don't want to say too much and put it out there and jinx it and then be searching for another month or two because I need help now. And I've needed help for months now. And it'll be nice to get someone. Anything I could do not to
jinx it.
Not to jinx that. So anyway. And then, of course, as far as like TV watching goes, my wife and I, Brita and I, started The Good Place over again because we want to watch the 4th season, but we figured the first 3 seasons are fairly short, like 12 episodes each, and we really like that show. It's really funny, and so we figured let's rewatch it. And we've already watched the first season, and we've just barely started the second season already. So
nice,
and that like literally happened like within like 3 or 4 days. I mean, just. Boom, 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 boom. Because, 20 minutes, 22 minutes an episode, you can get 3 of them in an hour.
Yep.
It's only like 4 hours of content, really.
Right.
So,
that's anyway,
that's happening.
Love that.
Okay, Matt, so here's this. I've got a riddle for you.
Okay.
A question, something in a new segment I'm debuting tonight called Krypton's Conundrums.
Okay.
So, I'm going to riddle you this, and then you tell me what you think.
Okay.
We have Lord Vader, Queen Amidala, and then Princess Leia. Why is Luke Skywalker a commoner? His dad was royalty, his mom was royalty, his sister is royalty. Why is he a commoner? Why is he not like Duke Luke Skywalker?
I don't know.
Or Prince Luke Skywalker?
Well, when we're introduced to him, he ain't nobody. Maybe that's why.
I get it. It's a he's a farmer. I understand that, but I just kind of find it funny. Like if you look at it,
definitely true.
His father was Lord Vader, his mother was Queen Amidala, and his sister is a princess.
All for different reasons when you think about it.
Right? Absolutely.
All for different, like Lord Vader for the Sith, and then Queen Amidala because she was actually the queen, and then Princess because she was raised by royalty, but not by her mom, Queen.
Right.
So it's it's interesting.
Right.
Which is also about that.
Which is also like you go back and you think back when Leia says, or Luke says, it's like, tell me what you knew of, your mom, and she says, I don't remember much, but I remember like her smile or something like It's very much like I only have like a 1 or 2 little memories. Is she actually talking about her biological mother, or is she talking about like her adoptive mother?
Right. Well, I would think it would have to be her adopted mother.
Well, see, here's the thing. I don't think that was originally intended to be that way.
Either.
I think it was meant to be biological mother. but that was just a little line that was dropped into the original trilogy with no forethought that we were actually going to have a prequel trilogy.
Right.
And that the actual mother in question is going to die during childbirth.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah. So Krypton's conundrums, we got royalty, and Luke is a commoner.
Love it. That's a great segment. I expect it bi-monthly.
When things strike me as interesting.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, Matt, what do you say? Is it time to get to that Rebel Intelligence?
Can't wait and pull my lightsaber out right now.
Are you going to slice and dice Bothans?
Oh, yeah, cauterize their bodies.
Let's do it. I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Matt, we're into Rebel Intelligence. There are little chunks and bits of cauterized Bothans all over the floor right now.
Yes.
What do you have for me this week?
All right. So this week, we have confirmation about our Ghostbusters 2020 film.
Ooh.
We already kind of knew that Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson were going to be in the movie, but nobody said anything about Bill Murray. I think we all kind of assumed and hoped.
Right.
But Bill Murray just kind of always just keeps it close to the chest.
Bill Murray's Bill Murray.
He's Billy. So in an interview with Dan Aykroyd, he said Jason Reitman wrote a beautiful heartfelt script that takes the DNA from the first two movies and hands a legacy off to a new generation of stars and characters. We've shot our part, myself, Murray, Sigourney, meaning Sigourney Weaver, and Annie Potts. It was really exciting working on this new idea. So now we know for sure, without a doubt, Bill Murray is in the movie as Peter Venkman.
In some capacity.
Yeah, he didn't... he kind of said that we shot our part, which makes you think that it's maybe not a super big role. But he didn't mention Ernie Hudson for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe Ernie has a different role in the film, or their schedules couldn't quite work out. Or he's in there and he just forgot to say that, which seems odd to me.
Right.
That was just excluded. But anyway, that was kind of what we wanted, what we expected. But he's definitely in it, and he's definitely playing Peter Venkman. And again, Aykroyd, he said, just kind of what's interesting here, that one of the last quotes he says is, it's going to be scary. It's going to be thought-provoking. It's going to be heartfelt.
Okay.
So a little different, I think, than maybe...
What I'm not hearing is it's going to be funny.
Right, I'm not hearing funny either, but it's going to be funny.
It better be.
It's got Paul Rudd. I don't know how Paul Rudd can play anything without being funny and relatable. I don't know how it's possible.
Yeah. I love me some Ghostbusters.
Yes, I'm pretty excited for this movie. I like the cast that they've put together and the bringing back of the old cast. I'm pretty freaking excited. I can't wait for a trailer. I'm excited.
Didn't they do the trailer where they showed the Ecto-mobile,
Yes.
Ecto-1? Yeah,
The
there was
teaser.
that, which was nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. It was a little wind blowing, some leaves, and then a ripple of the thing on the thing, and you can see the license plate, and that was it.
Yes.
It was great. I mean, it
is what I needed.
It's what I needed to know. Hey, this is gonna happen. Something's being done in this world. But other than that, we got nothing.
Right, and we don't have much in terms of story. It's just, it says here, the new film centers on a family that moves back home to a small town where they learn more about who they are. Very, very interesting. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So, speaking of comedy, one of my favorite shows, I have said it from the mountaintops, is the TV show Community. I think it's a hysterical show. The first 4 seasons by far are just amazing. That's because Dan Harmon was the showrunner and was
3?
writing it. No, the 4th season too. But
that's not Dan Harmon.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, a lot of the stuff was written by him for that season, but yes, he did leave the show. Anyway, so there was this event over the weekend, this Vulture Festival, and in attendance was a few familiar names from the Community world: Joel McHale, Alison Brie, Gillian Jacobs, Danny Putty, Jim Rash, Yvette Nicole Brown, Ken Jeong, and of course Dan Harmon. And basically, from what it sounds like, they were on stage, and like the moderator, his name is Jesse David Fox, point blank brought up the whole like running 6 seasons in a movie, kind of line that was used that kind of became a rallying cry in the show, asking like what it would take to make a movie. And of course, Joel McHale, humorously says $1 million for Donald Glover. Which, was funny because, Donald Glover is extremely busy, popular, got a lot going on. I mean, he makes music, he directs, he acts, he's all over the place.
Does it all.
Yeah, he really does. And so, they're making a joke, and apparently, they'd taken a couple other, things, talking about Donald Glover saying, like, Brie Larson, Alison Brie, not Brie Larson. Alison Brie was basically saying, like, it was awesome working with him. He was, amazing, and we also got to hear his music before, it blew up, this, that, and the other. And so when the question came around to Dan Harmon, he basically just says, like, well, who's supposed to say everyone do this? Like, he's basically saying, like, well, who tells us just to go do this? How does that happen? And then Alison Brie basically says, like, just sounds like it starts with you, Dan. And then, of course, he kind of gave the old half-hearted, like, well, if I started writing, half the script would, half the cast would back out. And apparently every single cast member there publicly pledged that if he would write it, that they would attach themselves to the project and they would be involved.
Yep.
So, now, of course, I mean, we're talking, that is the majority of the study group right there, plus Dean Pelton, plus Chang. Yep. The only people we're missing from hearing from would be Donald Glover, which I don't know if Donald Glover would come back and do something like this. I would hope that he would, because this really was kind of like his big break.
Yeah.
On this series, but I get it. Like, he's extremely busy. It would have to fit in his schedule and this, that, and the other. And then, of course, the other one that's missing is Chevy Chase.
Right.
And Chevy Chase and Dan Harmon don't get along.
They hate each other.
They absolutely hate each other.
Because they're both big egos, man.
They are both big egos, and there was stuff that blew up. I mean, Chevy basically, ended up leaving the show because of the way Dan was writing it and, writing his character and, like, the way his character continued to progress and just didn't get along. And, Dan Harmon's publicly said a lot negatively about Chevy Chase. So has Joel McHale. It's like a lot of the cast really has.
Yep.
Which is interesting because I remember when the show first debuted, it was one of those things where I said, oh, they've got Chevy Chase, because Chevy Chase is a comedy legend.
Yes.
He has done a lot of really great stuff. The problem is, a lot of that really great stuff is pretty far back in time now.
Yes.
He's not really current and relevant anymore,
right,
is the problem. And Dan Harmon kind of, referred to him as a self-described legend. I think he actually, in the comedy world, for the things he did in Saturday Night Live and then the movies he went on to have in a career, like, he is a comedy legend. However, that doesn't make him any easier to deal with from on a personal level, according to what everyone has ever said about him that's worked with him.
Yep.
So, anyway, I don't know, Matt, if this happens, do you think we get Pierce Hawthorne? Do you think we get
the deal?
Do you think we get Troy?
I have strong opinions on Community because, like you, I have strong feelings towards Community.
Yeah.
It is without a doubt, absolutely 100% my number one TV show of all time, comedy, drama, doesn't matter. It is the number one. When I'm sick, I watch Community. When I'm sad or depressed, I watch Community. Community is the end all for me. It is incredible. And I'm glad they extended it to 6 seasons. I was one of the people where I got canceled on season 5. I was writing Netflix every day.
Yeah.
Like that.
Wow.
I mean, I was part of the rallying cry, writing Netflix and writing Hulu. And then somehow Yahoo Screen came out of nowhere. So I get it. I want the movie. However, I want the movie with everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it that they don't get along with Chevy Chase. And I certainly understand that Donald Glover is busy. However, to me, when they both were not in the show, it changed. Not that it was bad.
Sure. It was just different.
It changed as a show. And first Chevy left. And then Donald left.
Yep.
And then Yvette Nicole Brown left.
Yep.
And then season 6 was kind of funny and it was good, but it wasn't
had
the
its
same.
moments.
I just worry that, I mean, Dan is a fantastic writer. There's no doubt about that. And he's gone on to already be super successful with Rick and Morty, and he probably doesn't need any more money. However, I just worry because to me, and I know that people hated Pierce, but to me, Pierce is what made the group work in a lot of different ways. Without Pierce, it kind of fell apart for me. There were some really great episodes in season 5, but the best one was when they had the eulogy, the bequeathments. The
bequeathments, yes.
That, because Pierce was like, the spirit of Pierce was there. It was like he was there without being there. And I just worry. I don't know. Anyway, I could go on and on about this.
Yep. I
could write essays about Community and why it is the best show ever made. I'll spare everybody the details. I have strong emotions. But I think you got to get Chevy. You got to bite the bullet for the fans. And somehow you got to get Donald. I don't know how you do it.
So,
you got to.
Here's something to also consider. Dan Harmon could write for the character of Pierce Hawthorne and Troy the Wonder Boy.
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that Dan Harmon's going to be directing.
Right.
So it could be, and we know the Russo brothers, who,
would do it.
In most recent, things have done all the big Avenger movies recently, right?
Yep.
Endgame and Infinity War. But they got their start. They worked on Community back in the day. So, maybe Dan Harmon's not on set. Maybe he writes the thing and, maybe he's not as involved during the production of the shooting.
Yeah.
And maybe the Russos shoot the thing. And maybe they can kind of work with Chevy enough to, get usable material with him. I don't know.
I hope so. And I mean, in a recent interview with the Russo brothers, they talked about kind of it was one of those things on YouTube where people talk about their career and the events that have led to where they went, right? They just did Endgame and Infinity War. And they said, we got the call from Marvel for, I think Civil War was the first movie they did.
Yep.
Was because of the paintball episodes of Community, or the first paintball episode. That's the reason.
Wow.
They said that you guys can manage the drama, the comedy, and the action in 22 minutes. I mean, what can these guys do with 2.5 hours?
Right.
So that's the reason they got that. And they still talk about Community as their favorite project. So, I mean, and Chris McKenna, who was kind of Dan Harmon's right-hand man with Community, I mean, they would all come back. We're talking about this way too long.
Right, yeah.
However,
there
are ways to make it work, and I hope that they find a way to do it. They couldn't do it for season 6, which makes me not super hopeful that they would do it for a movie, but I don't know. It's only an hour and a half. Give me an hour and a half Community movie. That's what I want.
6 seasons in the movie.
Yep. I need it. Okay, hold on. Just one more thing. Donald has to be in it for 5 minutes, maybe 10. The movie is about finding Troy. He got lost on his voyage, and they got to find him. There's a lot of different ways they could bring the study group back together. It could all revolve around Troy, and at the end, they find Troy, and it can be as meta as they want. That he's this super successful rapper in India. I don't know.
Right.
But there's all these. Anyway, sorry. That's a workaround to where I'd be okay with it. Anyway,
I'm with you. What else you got for me, Matt?
Okay. Oh, this one's gonna be short, so don't worry. Okay, Kevin Feige
Yep.
the man with his new
our friend.
role.
Our
personal friend. Yeah, he and Bobby. Shout out to Kathy, Bobby, and Kevin for listening today.
What's up, Kathy, Bobby, Kevin? Yo, dogs.
Big three.
We got you.
All right. So there are 3 confirmed characters from the upcoming Disney Plus shows that will make it into the MCU films in addition to their shows. So Kevin Feige said these characters will be introduced with the Disney Plus shows and then will make their way into the movies in the future for sure. And those are Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and Moon Knight.
Okay.
All the ones that announced that we didn't know about already. So I was expecting this, and he continues on to say that Disney Plus and the films will continue to overlap and will bounce back and forth. So there will be things that you'll almost, I don't know if you'll need to watch them in order to completely get the plot. Right. But I think it would be important probably to watch the Disney Plus shows.
So that's interesting, right? Because the movies were standalones before. So like you could pay a ticket and go see it, right? And now I hear that like there's going to be more characters in the Loki show or more things that happen in the Loki show on Disney Plus that are going to then like tie into the Doctor Strange 2 in the Mind of Madness.
Oh, okay.
And so, and I heard about that, and there was another one I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but like I hear this stuff. It was from WandaVision. There was something from WandaVision, right? Okay. I hear this kind of stuff, and I kind of go, "Here's the thing," and I get it, and I'm not going to talk about like the cost of Disney Plus or whatever, because like that's not my argument. Right. But the concern is some of this content now is locked behind another paywall, a subscription paywall, and not everyone's going to do that. So if you're then going to have those characters be involved in the movies, either 2 things I think happen. One, they have big roles in the movie, but you're going to have to spend time in the movie for fans that are not going to be watching Disney Plus shows. You know, the people that, you know, ended up making Endgame $1 billion movie, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to, you know, explain to the mom and pops grandmas who don't watch, you know, watch the WandaVision show or Moon Knight or She-Hulk who these people are. And that's gonna take some time to do in a movie. So that's time that could be dedicated to other stuff. Or 2, these characters are gonna play very minor roles. They'll pop in. People who watch the show go, "Oh, it's such and such, and we know them, and we saw them, and oh, it's really cool, but we only saw them for this." And then the real kind of fanboy, the fandom aspect of that's going to feel like we were underserved. We would have liked to have seen more.
Right.
That's a bit of a concern. Now it's Disney; they're probably going to find a way to thread that needle perfectly, and I'm going to walk away later going, "Oh, that was amazing. They did it just right."
I agree, and it is a concern, and I think there's this, and we'll talk about this in a hot minute when we talk about The Mandalorian, but I've got some thoughts there kind of regarding backstory and plot detail and between, you know, movies and shows, and it definitely is a concern. I do think it's a smart move, though. They own the world. I mean, the Avengers movies are like the biggest things in the world, and the Marvel movies in general, I should say. I think it's a smart move. I think it's a good move. I'm really excited for the shows because they're giving me some variety with what they are. I mean, I'm excited.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah,
all right.
We'll be in the movies.
So I got something for you.
Yeah.
So obviously, Rise of Skywalker is literally right around the corner, a little more than a month away.
Yeah.
And there's some news that came out this week. Both Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd, and her brother have basically said that, like, they've talked to J.J. Abrams and that J.J., you know, kind of told them about how, you know, they've collected a bunch of unused footage that was shot during both The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens that they're going to use to have her be in The Rise of Skywalker, because JJ said, like, I don't want to just write her out of the movie in the opening crawl, the opening text crawl, right?
Yeah.
Which I get, like, because it would be off screen, it would be very unsatisfying. Like, there are ways to do it off screen, but like that's kind of like this completely happened with nothing, and we're just kind of giving you some text dialogue. Let's move on.
Right.
I'm glad they're not doing that. But what's interesting is that they said, we want to do enough, but JJ kind of hinted or alluded to the fact that this movie was going to be more Carrie Fisher's movie, because, we've now moved on from Harrison Ford. We've now would have been moved on from kind of Mark Hamill, and she would have been the last kind of remaining member of the original trilogy. And her brother is making claims that the idea for The Rise of Skywalker was going to be actually in this final film. She was going to actually stand up as the last Jedi, essentially, and she was going to wield a lightsaber and be using the Force and was going to be kind of a Jedi warrior. And I heard this, and I don't know that I really like that idea.
I would have hated it.
Maybe this is a hot take, and let me tell you why I don't like this idea. It has nothing to do with sexism, men versus women, anything like that. Like, I could care less about that. Jedi are both men and women. But for me, what it is narratively speaking, we don't find out that there's another Skywalker till the very, very tail end of Empire Strikes Back in the original trilogy, right? We don't see, Carrie doesn't get any hint of that until the very end of Return of the Jedi, that she's Luke's sister. When we fast forward 30 years, we don't see her using Force powers to find Luke. We don't see her wielding a lightsaber. We don't see her going into battle. She continued down the path of she's a politician, she's a tactician, and she kind of becomes the de facto general of the Resistance.
Right.
And I actually like the narrative of Princess Leia in the fact that she used all the other skills that she acquired over her lifetime, and she actually did not explore and delve much onto the Force-sensitive side of things, the Jedi side, because her skill, she understood her brother was the Jedi, her skills, her abilities lie elsewhere, and I think narratively that allows them to tell some completely different stories. She is this amazing, fierce military leader and politician who, in the books that are now not canon, they're all the legacy stuff, like, she runs the entire freaking galactic government. Like, she is so central to all that. Like, talk about an amazing story, an amazing, like, things that character has to do. And I feel like if you were to try, like, now in the 9th installment of this film franchise, be like, oh, by the way, secretly she's been training for the last 30 years and she didn't use any of these abilities in episode 7 or episode 8. I mean, you can say she kind of used the Force to pull herself back after being, blown into the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
But still, that also could be a reaction of the Force trying to protect her from dying. Right? Yeah, not necessarily a conscious decision, but the Force trying to maybe keep balance. Anyway, having her then like light up a lightsaber and just kind of like go into it as a Jedi, for me that would feel like a jump the shark moment. It's like, okay, now we just need to have another light Jedi because we need to have a light Jedi, and we need to now give her this to do just because it would be fan servicey. I don't know. I just don't like that idea.
No, and I think it would have been awkward. It would have felt out of place to me.
How do you get from point A to point B?
From Leia.
Yeah.
That's not how she rolls, man. So that would have been, I agree with you on the story beats. Completely story-wise, to me, that wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah.
And it would have eliminated. She was going to be the last Jedi. I mean, what's Rey? I don't know. That it kind of eliminates the new cast, which is weird to me. That doesn't make sense.
Because Rey's kind of, I don't know. They made a strong, empowered female Jedi with the character of Rey. And the whole, like, Finn, Poe, Rey were essentially supposed to be kind of like a recasting of the main trilogy's core 3.
Right.
Gender bending some things, moving some stuff around. Yep. So, like, what's the point of then shifting the power and the focus back to Princess Leia?
Yep. It would have been weird. Plus, it would have been weird. I feel like, I don't know, Carrie Fisher running around with a lightsaber at the age that she was in with the condition her body was in would have been strange as well.
I think if J.J. Abrams would have shown her training or having dialogue about, like, how she trained for a number of years under Luke's tutelage before he kind of went into hiding or something, that then could have set up stuff that they could have peppered in here and there so that then they could have had this big moment maybe in episode 9. That would have felt better, but they didn't do any of that. So this idea to me sounds a little not fully developed.
Yeah, I agree. And who knows if it was true.
Right.
So we just have to take their word for it. So
really hard to kind of, know. But anyway, I am glad, though, that we are going to get Carrie Fisher in episode 9.
Yeah.
For as much as we can get with, that footage. Because obviously it's sad that she passed and didn't get to complete out, this last film.
Right. Yep.
So, anywho, what else you got, Matt?
Well, that's all I have. I'm out.
Oh, I've got 2 other things we can kind of hit up.
Hit me.
So, obviously today is the day that Disney Plus launched, November 12th. And are you shocked at all that we had server issues on launch day?
No. This is a normal course of events, if you ask me.
Yep.
This
Absolutely.
Happens. How are they going to possibly be able to know? It just seems people that complain about it. I mean, it's one thing to not be able to watch what you want to watch. I get it, and that can be frustrating. But it's less than a day. We're recording this, and it's been less than a day that this has been out, and these people are freaking out like it's the end of the world.
Yeah, we don't have any idea yet of how many users have tried to access and hit these servers yet. I think that number will come out eventually. I think Disney will come out and say, like, hey, 30 million people, 50 million people, okay, maybe not that much, because I know they're anticipating. Yeah, I know that they're anticipating to have like 18 million users by the end of 2020. Like, that's their kind of internal numbers. But, like, still, if they said, like, hey, 7 million people tried logging in on day 1, that is a massive number of people all hitting those servers. And it's so hard to judge how many people are going, because you had pre-signups.
Yeah.
But there was nothing stopping people from just saying, hey, there's no reason to sign up early. I'm just going to, sign up the day of.
Yep.
And then just go. And so you really can't know. So you kind of take a guess. And in the IT world, you try to get the hardware and the software you know you're going to need, and then believe for a reasonable stretch of, like, okay, it could go as high as maybe this, and plan for that. But if something big happens and something massive, and, like, it catches on and it's extremely wildly more popular than you anticipated, if your numbers are over your capacity, you're just going to have problems. And until you can get more servers and storage stood up, it's just going to be the way it is.
Yep. It'll take them probably a few more days to get it figured out. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I got to believe that there's people over at Disney working round the clock right now, pulling, shifts, just rotating, because they're bringing more servers online, getting more storage space, making sure bandwidth is good, like all that kind of stuff.
This is probably good news for Disney, really.
Oh, yeah, in the end, absolutely.
Has exceeded their expectations. Like, happy stockholders, pretty sure, pretty soon, I'm sure.
Yep.
I think, it's been a big deal. Obviously, I have a circle of friends and family, and it's all we've talked about all day today. And so I can only imagine. I mean, it's you only know what's going on in your circle. However, Disney is a very large circle and a very rabid fan base.
Yep. All right, so I got one other last little tidbit of news pertaining to Disney Plus. So obviously we know stuff's coming out of the vault. We got new original series that are coming, movies that are going to show up on Disney Plus and not anywhere else. But we also got a new, probably what I'm going to say a new internet meme came about today. And a new catchphrase. Makunke. Makunky. Whatever you want, however you want to pronounce it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me fill you in. You remember in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, Han Solo is in the Mos Eisley Cantina. He has just agreed to take on Obi-Wan and Luke as freight and get them to Alderaan. And just as Chewie leaves to go get the Falcon ready, Greedo, a bounty hunter, slips in to the table on the other side of Han and starts basically bragging about how he's going to bring him in, this, that, and the other. Han reaches under the table. He undoes the latch on his blaster holster, pulls his blaster out, is ready. Famously, Greedo says, basically, I'm going to take you in. And he says, basically over my dead body. And he says, yeah, I bet you. Bang! And then he shoots him, right? Boom. Everyone knows Han shot first.
Yeah.
He wasn't even, that's what made Han Solo the original bad A.
Yeah.
He was a rogue. He knew that it was going to be a situation where he had to defend himself. So he shoots first. He's dead. Boom. Greedo goes down, moves on. Then George Lucas started tinkering with the movies back in the late 90s. And we got this really clunky scene where now, because our hero shouldn't be the one to shoot first, because that sends a bad message.
Terrible.
It doesn't really make him look like a hero. Now we have this horrible thing where Greedo shoots first by a half a second, then Han shoots. It looked bad. It looked clunky. And honestly, you can tell this is done after the fact because, let's be honest, I've shot guns before. And if someone fires a gun near you, even if you're anticipating it, but if this thing is point blank range pointed at you and you hear that thing fire, you're gonna flinch, you're gonna move, you're gonna do something. And in George's scene, nope. The bolt at literally 3 feet away from his face misses him by literally a good foot to the right. And then Han shoots, and hey, our hero doesn't shoot first. He's not really a bad guy. He didn't murder someone in cold blood. He's defending himself. Right? This is where we've been at now for a number of years. Well, Disney Plus did a thing. In Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, in the version that was just released, there's been an edit to that scene once again. Now, it is believed that this scene was actually edited for 4K a number of years back ago for a planned 3D release, which never really happened. You remember, Matt, that they released Episode 1 in 3D
theaters.
In theaters?
Yes.
And then I think they even released maybe Episode 2 in theaters.
Died.
And then it just kind of after that it was nope, it went all away. So they believe that a number of years ago, maybe 7-ish years ago, that this scene was actually tinkered with back then. And since Disney has this is the version that ended up getting put out. But so now basically that scene goes exactly up to plan. And then right at the last place, instead of this weird Greedo shoots half a second, then Han shoots, they both shoot almost simultaneously. Greedo just a trigger before, but Greedo now says this word Makunke or Makunke or McClunky. It's really kind of hard to tell, but it's weird because it's he's shouting this phrase as some sort of I've got to psych myself up to shoot this guy when I've got my blaster trained on him, point blank range. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Explain it to me. What is going on?
You have to ask George.
Oh, man.
And George is a good friend of the podcast, too.
Is he, though?
I mean...
Is he?
He is.
McConkey?
Okay. Green, yeah. Okay.
Hashtag McConkey.
It's weird. You know, we went back and we watched this before we got on the podcast, and I didn't understand why it was added. It adds nothing. It just is a weird thing. They're talking, and Greedo's got the subtitles, right? So you're like, okay, I know what he's saying. And then McConkey comes up, and there's no subtitles. We don't know what he's saying. We don't know why he's saying it. We just know that he says it, and his weird mouth thing goes, whoa, whoa, and like moves a little bit, and then he dies. And it's weird.
At this point, I'm anticipating that the next edit is actually going to have Greedo singing a song in this, and it's going to be
CG?
Hakuna McConkey.
Oh, boy.
What a wonderful
Oh, my
phrase. Hakuna McConkey makes no passing sense. Anyway.
Oh, boy.
It means no shooting.
Okay, good,
For
yes.
the rest of your days.
So good.
It's Han
my
Solo
gosh.
shot first. Philosophy. Hakuna McConkey.
It's good. George does listen, and he's going to use that. Wow. Wow.
I bet you that'll end up on the internet somewhere.
Oh, gosh.
Hakuna McConkey.
Hakuna McConkey. We don't know what it means, and Hakuna Matata's nonsense.
It means no worries.
I mean, that's what he's saying. Over my dead body. No worries.
Yeah.
Boom. So anyway, there you go.
Yep. Anyway, I just
That's
thought that was
weird.
kind of interesting. It's funny. It's just one of those things where it's like, stop messing with our childhood. Just put it back the way it was, and let's
Yeah, it's weird.
be done with that.
That's weird. Just pop in the old VHS
Yep.
before the special editions.
I actually have a DVD that was a dual disc DVD that came out like 2003 that had the special edition and still had the original theatrical
Oh, really?
release. So I've ripped those onto digital, and I keep like a copy, on like my tablets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's nice. A New Hope looks so weird with all the CG stuff that they added. I hate those scenes.
Dewbacks walking around.
Yeah,
and,
it feels weird. I'm not. Whatever. We're not talking about that right now.
Hakuna McConkey.
Yep. No worries. No freaking worries, man.
All right, Matt. Oh gosh, that's gonna stick in my brain for a little while.
Yeah.
Let me pull this back here a little bit. So last week we had a conversation about the Star Wars trilogy that Weiss and Benioff, the former showrunners of Game of Thrones, were going to be helming for Lucasfilm and for Disney, and then they got outed. They're done. They're moving on. And so our question of the week was, who would you want to see take over? And you and I had some ideas, but at the very, very, very tail end of the podcast, you and I came up with this idea of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. And I stand 1,000% behind that idea. I think that is the best idea possible.
Yep.
That we came up with, at least. That's the best idea we came up with, at
Right.
least. So I asked this on social media. However, I put it out later than usual because we're recording on Tuesday because we wanted to be able to watch The Mandalorian so we could talk about it. And so I think because I threw off the whole
The timing.
flow of the social medias and how things are done, we missed on Facebook, we missed on Twitter this week. So if you respond to us at Fort of Nerd on Twitter or facebook.com/Fort of Nerd, you missed us this week, that's okay. But we do have a response from our email, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com, and we got Peter Christensen. Peter's reliable, and I love it. So he comes in and he says, "Dear nerds, Circus Peanuts were a #1 seed and lost in the semifinals of my work's worst candy tournament. Their bio was allegedly chemical engineer Richard Dye created them in Dover, Delaware, after creating a packing peanut-like foam insulation for use in his livestock barn. He liked the foamy texture so much that he made a candy out of it, which he would sell at circuses passing through town. The banana flavor, meanwhile, allegedly comes from a freak banana oil accident at a factory. So
What?
a little history on the circus peanut.
Man.
He says, you guys are welcome to send your candy corn, especially the pumpkin-shaped candy corns, to yours truly. Done and done, Peter.
Gladly.
Do you want the stale ones that have been in this like vase that we have like a candle in that we kind of use as a centerpiece around the
Nice.
Halloween? Because I guarantee those things have got to be like stale and hard as a brick. But if you want brick hard candy corn, Peter, I've got your address. I'll send them to you. I will put them in a Ziploc baggie and send them to you. You just let me know. He says, I finished Jack Ryan's season 2, and it takes everything from season 1 up several notches. It gets intense, but has a problem with creeping extremism. No spoilers, but if it follows this trajectory, I wouldn't be surprised if season 3 ends with him bringing pet velociraptors to sneak into Mordor and shoot Genghis Khan in the face with a bazooka. My favorite line, focus on the money. I love the fact that Peter bought in. I watched the first season. So now watch the second
he's gone
season.
ham.
And I haven't even got to it yet because I've been so busy and other things have been going on. And I feel horrible because I want to watch this thing.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, I agree with Matt. Last Jedi was a good movie, but the complaints about how disjointed it was from Force Awakens are legitimate. It also had some plot fat that MCU movies have trained us not to accept.
Yeah.
A couple of suggestions for directors for the Star Wars trilogy. If I actually had the hiring authority, I would have to try to get the Russo brothers. Their MCU movies, 3 Captain Americas, Infinity War, and Endgame, show that they can make a coherent sequel of amazing movies, while their episodes of Community and Arrested Development show their range. Think of them as an upgrade pick from the Duffer Brothers, also a great choice. Before I go on, Peter, you know of our love of Community and the Russo brothers. This, I think, also is a very, very winning idea. Hardcore winning idea.
I want to know their history with Star Wars, though.
That's
my only.
I don't know, but if they have any shred and love of Star Wars,
Yeah.
I don't know how it could be a bad thing.
Well, when I look, hold on. What season of Community did they direct? I don't think they directed the one where there was a Star Wars homage. I think that was season 2's. I think they were gone by then. Anyway, Russo Brothers would be great. I mean, again, they've shown they can handle it. They've got the chops to really do any style of movie, TV show, and we know that they can do quippy. I mean, Arrested Development, Community, talk about like smart, witty comedy. Those are probably some of the top 2 smart, witty comedies of all time.
He goes on to say, to get wacky, let me suggest Baz Luhrmann, director of Romeo and Juliet, Australia, and The Great Gatsby. It would be a bold choice to create a new and distinctive look for a different part of the Star Wars galaxy. To get more intense, how about Catherine Bigelow, director of Point Break, The Hurt Locker, and Zero Dark 30. Great memorable movies, serious action, one of the top female directors working today. Just please, let's get some cinematic universe continuity. Cheers, Peter Christensen. I think the Baz Luhrmann thing is kind of a crazy pants, wacko type of idea. I'm with you. I don't know that I would want to see that. And that's not because I don't think what he does isn't visually amazing. It's just not my style, and I really don't like a lot of his movies.
I don't know a lot of the movies that he even said.
Didn't he also do Moulin Rouge?
Sure.
I think he did.
I never saw it. I've seen Great Gatsby, and I like The Great Gatsby. It's not well reviewed. I'm a fan of The Great Gatsby, if for nothing else other than it's Leo with these crazy cool visuals and like a Jay-Z soundtrack set back in the 1920s or something.
Yeah, I've only seen bits and parts of Moulin Rouge. Every girl I knew in college watched that thing to death.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same thing. Like, it was this like romance story set like in, France at the Moulin Rouge, but they were like singing like modern songs. Like they were singing like Nirvana, and they were singing like other things that have like more contemporary nature. And like, I get kind of the stylistic, like I'm going to mash current music with a period piece.
Yeah.
I liked it in Hamilton. I didn't like it in Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of a whole different thing. But just stylistically, Baz Luhrmann, maybe not my guy. But that's okay. And Catherine Bigelow, I don't think I've seen anything she's done. I've wanted to watch Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30, but I haven't. Now, Point Break, are we talking the original? Or are we talking the remake? Because if it's the remake, there's no way I'll never watch the remake. I loved the original, the Keanu Reeves, the Patrick Swayze. That's my Point Break.
Yeah, it's 1991 Point Break.
She did that Point Break?
That's what she did, yes.
Okay, then that's the Point Break I love.
She did K-19 The Widowmaker as well. That's the only one that I've seen that she's
I do
done
remember
is
seeing that
K-19.
movie.
But it was not... Wasn't it like Harrison Ford in K-19 The Widowmaker or something? Anyway.
Yeah, I believe so.
Anyway, good suggestions.
Yeah.
Would be interesting.
Some at least some thinkers, to kind of give you
Yeah.
thinking around a little bit. So anyway, thank you for the response, Peter. Super Friends, next week we'll try to make sure we get our socials at the normal scheduled time and give you a chance to to find it so you can respond to us. Matt, Super Friends can help us out this week. What can they do?
So pull up your phones, your tablet, your computer. Find us on whatever streaming podcast site you choose. Give us some likes, subscribes, star ratings, whatever it is on that site, and interact with us. Find us on all of the social medias. We missed y'all this week on social media. It's partially our fault, I'm sure.
For sure.
So if we could, we'll make sure to get that up on time, and we hope to hear from you. We really enjoy it. It's our favorite part. Feels like a community when we do that. No community pun intended. And
cool.
You can also watch Community this week. Just watch the pilot and tell me it's not the best pilot for a TV show. Tell me it's not. I dare you.
I would, if I'm actually going to pick just one episode to say go watch Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, I'm not talking my favorite episode.
I'm not. Neither am I. But I'm saying, like, if you want to, I always think that there's like one episode of a show that if you want to like hook people on, you want them to really buy into it, like you have them watch that. And the pilot isn't always necessarily that show. No. I think the Dungeons and Dragons one, with all the humor and the compassion for Fat Neil that's going on in that episode, and the tension between Pierce and the group,
Agreed.
And all that, like, it's got so much going on in that episode. Plus, it does show off Dungeons and Dragons in a very kind of humorous and relatable way to a lot of people that maybe don't know much about Dungeons and Dragons. I think that's an episode. Kind of like everyone talks about Blink with Doctor Who. They always say, like, watch this one first, then go back and start the whole thing.
Yes. I agree with you. I do agree with you.
Okay.
I don't know that I've ever told somebody to not start at the beginning of a show. However, if they were to do it with Community, that is my favorite episode. So you are correct.
Yep.
So do that. Do one. That. You can't pick any episode of Community. For me, seasons 1 through 3 and most of season 5, I can't stand season 4. However, that's just me. I'm a purist of Dan Harmon. Anyway.
I honestly think the first 5 seasons are great.
They are.
Yep. Season 6 is a little uneven, but
hit and miss.
So we decided, Matt, that we were going to not record on our traditional Monday. We were going to push to Tuesday night because we really wanted to have the opportunity, after all the build-up for months for Disney Plus and the build-up for the new show that's going to drop, this original in the Star Wars universe called The Mandalorian is going to be dropping on day 1. We did not want to record yesterday and then have all this happen today and have to wait a whole week to talk about it.
Yep.
So, I want to go back to last night. Last night, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm also on my phone before I'm going to bed trying to find out, like, at what time is Disney Plus actually going to go live?
Right. Yep.
Because there was a lot of articles that said originally, like, midnight Eastern time. And then I saw a lot of revisions saying, actually, 6 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, that's what I saw, too, was 6.
And then you texted me, and I was already asleep because I didn't have more than about 5 hours of sleep the night before. You texted me roughly around, I want to say, 10:30-ish my time, so about 11:30 your time. And you said, hey, it's live on Roku. I'm watching The Mandalorian in 4K.
Yeah.
So you were like, boom, like, what were you doing? Like, were you refreshing? Were you checking?
No, not at all. We had just finished watching Monday Night Football, weirdly enough. Not weirdly enough, I watch football.
Right.
And we were just sitting there, Jesse and I, with the baby, and I was like, I checked, like, for the past week, I was just checking to see if I could at least just have the app ready.
Right, yeah, me too.
And then I was like, all right, I'll just check Roku one more time. And Jesse laughed because I checked a few times that day because I was like, hey, this is kind of, nobody really knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, why are we waiting this long to get the app?
I see, like, screenshots of, like, the PlayStation Store having... like the episodes up, you can't watch them, but like it's showing up in their queues. I was like, all right, let's just try it, and it let me download it, and I was like, okay, let's see if it let me log in. I was like, Jesse, we're logged into Disney Plus right now, and look at all this content. And I was like, but I bet you it's not live. And I clicked on The Mandalorian, and the Lucasfilm logo showed up, and I paused it, and I said, holy I'm about to watch new Star Wars. And I looked at the clock, and it said it was about 40 minutes long, and I said, screw it, baby's gonna be awake anyway. And Jesse's like, we gotta watch it. I was like, well, you gotta watch it. Oh, so we did.
I woke up this morning, and the first thing I see, like a lot of mornings, I've got a whole bunch of notifications. I had Twitch notifications. I had Twitter notifications. I had work emails. I had like a Spotify notification, and I had a single text message from you. And I pull up my notifications, and you get like that little preview window, and I immediately see the contents of yours, and I, boom, go right to it. And I was up extra early this morning because I needed to be in first thing in the morning and get some stuff prepped because we were going to have interviews and a bunch of meetings today. I mean, literally today, I maybe had half an hour to an hour of time during my workday where I wasn't in a meeting or an interview.
Yeah.
And so I get up early, I've got to get ready, I check your text message, I'm like, oh, it's live. Here's the thing, Jackson got sick last night. He got what I had and started vomiting.
Oh, bummer.
And so I'd only been asleep maybe like 2 hours, like I was woken back up like a little before midnight. And I don't know about you, but when I get woken up after that little of sleep, I'm so out of it.
Yeah.
I'm just so out of it. And so like I try to help him get on new pajamas. Brita was amazing. She cleaned out all the sheets, did everything, took him downstairs, and basically she said, like, I'm going downstairs. I can't sleep. I don't want to sleep up here. I want to let you sleep.
Yep.
So no one was in the room with me. So I was able to turn the light on and then fire up the TV, pull up the Apple TV, and I downloaded and logged into the Disney Plus right away.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw it, and I had to go wake up Charlie and tell him he had to get ready, and he didn't want to get out of bed. So I'm like, look, I got this new cool thing. Come look at this. And so he came out and looked at it. And then, of course, like, he wants to watch The Simpsons. What? He's 6. He sees a cartoon and these cartoon characters. I'm like, we're not watching The Simpsons, buddy. Like, I didn't start watching them until I was like 9.
Literally anything else.
Yeah, like I was watching The Simpsons when they first debuted, and I was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And even like that, like my parents were kind of like, for 9, it's not really like super objectionable material, but it is stuff that like, I was walking around saying like, eat my shorts.
Right.
Because that was like the big catchphrase in the first season, anyway. So, eat my shorts, man. So, yeah, Charlie was kind of looking at it. We're like, great. Then, because work was so crazy, I basically went into a media blackout because I did not want to hear anything about The Mandalorian. And I knew I wasn't going to get a chance to watch it till after I got home tonight, later than usual. But Brita was good enough to like take the kids upstairs, let them watch something, and then I sat down and watched 40 minutes of Mandalorian goodness.
Yes.
And I'm probably going to watch it again after I get off the podcast tonight.
Yeah, I watched it this afternoon too.
Yeah.
So I've gone through it twice now.
Awesome. So let's talk about The Mandalorian. This is the first live action Star Wars series from Disney Plus that we're getting. For a pilot episode, for a first episode, just what is your overall high level impression of it?
It's awesome. I mean, it's kind of what let me say this. It's what I expected it to be. It was, I think people who don't understand story and don't understand Star Wars may not love it all that much. And we could talk about some of the details and nuance of the show and the characters and plot and what's important and all of that. But kind of the high level was, it was awesome. I liked it as a pilot because it set up our main character. Mm-hmm. It established a lot of who he is and what he does without, mansplaining it. I don't know how else to say that to us, right? There's not a lot of dialogue saying this is what he does, this is how it works, blah, blah, blah.
There's not a lot of exposition.
They make a lot of assumptions for the viewer. But the pilot was great. It shows it off, and it leads to a climactic event at the end, which I think now sets up what the real show is going to be about. Because I think the whole pilot leading up to that was just getting to know him and what he does and his character. And then now I think we're going to see the story, and it's going to revolve around this event.
So the first thing I was really struck by was the fact that this feels like a movie. The production quality is through the roof. If it hadn't been this way, if the production quality had been subpar, and I don't even want to knock what I'm about to say because that feels almost a little disingenuous, but when you watch the Netflix Marvel shows like Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, they all look great, but you know that they're TV quality, high-end TV quality, but they're TV quality. Whereas like when you watched Game of Thrones, that had a higher production value that felt more like a movie.
Right.
The Mandalorian feels like a movie. One of the things that I found really, really interesting is that when you see basically like two exterior shots from space where they show like one a ship coming from a planet and the one a ship going to a planet. I was fully anticipating they were going to put the name of the planet in text so you know, oh, this is Tatooine or this is whatever, Ord Mandel, whatever. It's going to be something.
Yep.
But they didn't do that. And I actually went, that's actually kind of amazing. And it does make it feel more of a, we're going to have to learn and explore kind of this series and find things out for ourselves. We're not just going to be told everything. And I like that. It had it had a movie feeling to it, but it also had more of a, I'm not going to spoon feed you feel.
Exactly. I completely agree. I think that was what I enjoyed the most because, again, this is Dave Filoni, this is Jon Favreau, and we talked about this last time, how much we want them to do the trilogy. Yeah. And this just made me feel that way more because they have such, especially Dave Filoni, right? He has such a respect for Star Wars and a deep understanding of, particularly of Mandalorians and the whole culture and the clan and what it is. What I enjoy about Star Wars and the things that I spend time on, the knowledge, the reading, is explaining those things to my family because they don't fill in the gaps. They don't care like I do.
Sure.
They love Star Wars. They say, oh, I love Star Wars. I watched it 7 times when I was a young girl. I'm like, yes, Mom, you do love Star Wars. However, you don't understand the nuance of it, right? Like she enjoyed The Mandalorian, right? She called me and told me she enjoyed it. And I'm sure that she did. Right. But what I love about that first time through was the significance and the subtlety of the characters and the situations and the plot, to where, like you said, they didn't explain it, but and that didn't take away from the plot, didn't take away from one's enjoyment of the series, but knowing more going into it adds to your enjoyment, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you can, when you understand the Mandalorians as a clan, and you understand their pride, right? And you understand, and he plays on that in the episode, right? They play on that pride. That one guy, I don't even know if we know his name, who shows up and says, "You're a Mandalorian."
Right.
What are you talking about? You can't ride this. Your ancestors. And he's like, okay, fine, you're right, right? That pride, that clan pride.
Yeah.
And you don't always know that until you've seen like Star Wars Rebels, right? And they really explore the Mandalorians in that show. Anyway, so I agree with you. I appreciated the way that they handled it, the subtlety, me explaining to my wife what, who the Mandalorians are, what this means for the Mandalorians and their clan, the fact that they're obviously fragmented, that the Empire in that war and battle, they must have really demolished, what was left, families. There's all these. Anyway, I don't know.
Yep.
I agree.
No, that's awesome. Here's the thing. Something we kind of talked about a little while back, and I saw this comparison on the internet, is that the Mandalorian is going to feel kind of like Clint Eastwood, the man with no name character, kind of out on the fringes, like on the Wild West. And I actually thought of that comparison during the first part of The Mandalorian, because it kind of starts out and he's, tracking down a bounty, right? I mean, he's a bounty hunter. So we're going to see a number of, probably, him chasing down contracts, taking bounties, this, that, and the other. And I actually kind of felt that his character, I don't want to say felt stale, because that's not accurate, but more like I was having a hard time trying to decide, like, do I like this character? Do I not like this character? Like, am I supposed to empathize with this character?
Yeah.
This is the protagonist of the show, but are they going to play the line because he is a bounty hunter, he's living on the fringes of society? Are they going to try to play the line of, like, he's kind of an anti-hero, or is he kind of a bad guy with, some redeeming quality? Like, it's very vague. Maybe that's the better word, vague, for most of the first episode. And so I kind of had to just say, okay, try not to latch on to do I like this character or not, but just watch the episode and see kind of what happens and see how the story develops and see if I'm given reasons to like or not like the character based on what's happening in the story.
Yep.
Because I feel like with Star Wars, it does kind of become a little predictable, kind of like the Marvel movies as well. Here's our protagonist. This is the guy you're supposed to root for. He's the good guy. Mm. And they're not wanting to push that in the first episode.
Right. I agree. I was on the other side of this, though. I was watching it going, oh my gosh, I love this character. I loved the the masked face, and he didn't say anything
for quite a while,
but a few words here and there when he had to speak, which I just loved. I thought that was so awesome. But then, like you said, for most of the episode, that's how it is. And then as it unravels and unrolls, and especially at the end, you go, okay, this is a good guy.
Yeah.
There's a heart. Yes, he's a bounty hunter, but there's something more to him than just, he's like Boba Fett, right? Where he just does what he's told and he just kills things.
So let's talk a little bit about the plot, right? It starts off and he's collecting a bounty.
Yep.
Which I think is a great way to intro the show, because we know he's a bounty hunter. You don't have to give a whole lot of backstory, just jump right in with the action. And that's what they do. And he's running down a bounty. He's got a bounty puck. He's trying to collect the bounty. And while he's doing that, like, we're also kind of learning a little bit more about him, his ship, which I thought was
cool.
An amazing throwback, because immediately I was like, oh, this is like one of the troop carriers from Attack of the Clones when it shows up on Geonosis, and all those, ARC troopers all jump out, and it's all the clones. And I was like, this is cool. It's a pre-Empire ship. It's something that for most Star Wars fans, they're going to recognize and identify, and we don't have to get some new-looking ship and try to explain what it is and where it came from and what it can do. I like that.
Yep.
I like that right off the bat. Then it kind of goes from there, Matt, and doesn't it go like, then he's like sits down with Carl Weathers. I don't know what the
Carl
character's
Weathers'
name is.
character.
Yeah, right.
In a dramatic role, like a solid dramatic role too.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job.
And then basically that, like, he basically like turns in his bounties.
Yep.
And that's when he finds out that there's a much bigger job.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily like a reputable, if there is such a thing, a reputable bounty hunting source.
Right.
And so we find out that it's that this client is basically like an Imperial officer, is what it looks like.
It would appear. I mean, there's stormtroopers and
there's stormtroopers. Which, by the way, the stormtroopers looked amazing because they're literally the same kind of stormtroopers and model, and the way the armor's done from like A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi.
Yes, and they look. I mean, it looks rough.
Yeah.
Like the Empire is, you can tell they're down and out. I mean, it's not like they're going to a nice place to find this client and the stormtroopers are clean armor like they were in A New Hope. I mean, it's rough. And the Empire has fallen because Carl Weathers' character tries to pay the Mandalorian in Imperial credits, and he's like, this is worthless now.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I can pay you in this, but it's only half. It's like, fine, I'd rather take that than full payment in Imperial credits. So that's how far the Empire has fallen in 5 years since Return of the Jedi. It's very interesting.
Yep. So he meets this guy. There's also some sort of like Imperial scientist, which is interesting because they want to track down this person that's about 50 years old. They don't have all the information. Only enough to basically say, like, you're smart, you'll go figure this out. And so our Mandalorian, takes the contract because the payment is a form of metal that originally belonged to the Mandalorians. And it's what they use for their armor.
Yep.
So I think part of the reason why he takes that is because he wants the opportunity to reclaim, that source of metal for his clan.
Right, and to me, that was another small detail to say the Mandalorians lost to the Empire in their battle. We don't know. I mean, in Rebels, there's a lot going on in that show, and we know Sabine goes back. Anyway, the whole Mandalorian versus Empire thing is interesting and complex, and how it all played out, we don't know. However, we've got a good feeling that the Empire slaughtered eventually. Either that or both sides slaughtered each other.
Right.
To the point where the Empire, though, took control, right? They took what was precious to them. This is all very, very interesting, and the motivation behind why the Mandalorian's doing what he's doing is, again, unspoken, but to us Star Wars fans with a more keen eye, I think it's more and more obvious kind of what's happening here.
Yep. So he goes there, he takes the contract, he goes and he actually like turns the metal over to his clan. He gets a pauldron made from it, and then all the remaining like goes back to the clan.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So like you can see that there's like this whole system of like, clan is more important than the individual, and he's going to make sure they get their cut, and he's going to help them out. We also see some flashbacks of, which I thought was interesting because it helps establish the character of the Mandalorian a little bit, that he was what they called a foundling, basically like an orphan. He was basically orphaned. His parents were shot down and killed, like while they were like running from someone with him in his arms, and they kind of hid him away, and his parents died.
Yeah, very similar to Rogue One.
Yes, I thought the exact same thing too.
They
Very
hid him,
similar to
in
Jin
a
Urso.
rock thing or something.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, some sort of like metal box or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, next thing we see, Mandalorian's on this planet where he's supposed to finally find, this bounty he's looking for. And he ends up running into this little guy who kind of looked like one of the Ugnaughts,
Yes.
but wasn't. But it did make me think of like the Ugnaughts a little bit, which also was kind of cool because earlier when we see the ship, we realize he's actually freezing people in carbonite on his ship.
Yeah, that was cool.
And I was like, ooh, so that technology has, persisted since Empire and is not, because remember, it was experimental then, and now he's just using it on his ship. So I'm assuming it's not exactly as experimental anymore.
Right.
Anyway, he's on this planet. He learns to ride the aforementioned, I don't know, half lizardy, half
blurg,
thing.
whatever.
Yep.
Blurg.
Blurg.
It's a blurg.
He gets to this area where the bounty's supposed to be, basically finds out there's like this militia, this like paramilitary group,
Yeah.
and he's going to try to sneak in, and then we get an IG assassin droid, IG-11, that's there. I thought, because I remember IG-88
Yeah.
from the Knights of the Old Republic game and some of the other stuff, and I was like, oh, sweet. Because in those games, it was all like, hey, meatbag. There was all this kind of like really aggressive, like gruff, like, this. But they played it a little more like he's just a droid.
Yeah.
And he's just issuing orders and following through, and you've broken the law.
Yep.
But talk about an amazing, like, battle droid, right?
Yeah, so cool.
Just so precision, like spinning around and firing, like he's killing all these guys. And of course, then he, kind of like tips off everyone. And inevitably, the Mandalorian, Armando, and IG-11 have to kind of team up and split the bounty in order to get there. They end up getting in, and we get to the final bounty. And it's this little, like, I don't know, pod that they open up, and we get the big reveal. The thing that really makes this first episode really interesting and narratively kind of twists the plot and gives us something to really look forward to. Like you alluded to, Matt, that this is where I think the show's really going to pick up. When they look in, there's a creature in it. And the best way to describe it is Baby Yoda. Because it is the same species as Yoda.
Yep.
And I think also Yaddle.
Yeah.
That was the
original
from one of the
Jedi
prequels.
Council,
Yeah, the female version.
Episode 1, yeah.
What's interesting about this, we do not know the name of this species. It has never been given.
Nope.
The only times we've ever seen this species, both of them have been Jedi Masters, extremely strong in the Force. And so now we find out that there's a baby of this species that's 50 years old. So we know these things live, like Yoda was 900 years old essentially when he died.
Yep.
Live a long time, have a long lifespan. And we know the other ones are definitely extremely strong with the Force. Why does this former Imperial officer want this species? He also said he would be willing to take it alive, but if things go south and it dies, he just wants proof of the death. So he's also willing to see it dead. And it's a little baby.
It's crazy.
And our Mandalorian will not kill it. The assassin droid wants to kill it. And you hear that blaster bolt fire. And then you look and IG-11 drops down. And our Mandalorian has killed another bounty hunter to protect the baby. That to me was a amazing way to end this first episode.
So cool.
I don't know. What do you think? He's protecting the baby. Like, what is that like? How does that speak to you? Like, what are your thoughts when you see this happen?
I was okay throughout the whole episode. I know that because obviously the previews did us nothing as far as what the story was
Yeah.
going to be. They kept it all under wraps. I had no idea. My expectation was I didn't know what my expectation was. So when I started watching this, and I saw him collect a bounty right at the beginning, I was like, okay, this is not going to be a show where we just watch him go around collecting bounties each
it can't.
episode.
Yeah.
That's just not what's going to happen. And when we got to that this bounty was taking a long time to happen and that we were going to get conclusion of this bounty in this episode, I thought, okay, this thing has to tie into something greater than just self-contained in the TV show. That was my thought. I said I guess it doesn't have to, but my thought was, I bet that this ties in indirectly to what we already know about Star Wars. And it did.
Yep.
It did. It did exactly what I was hoping it would do, that there's going to be an element of the Force involved in this show now. There has to be, because they're clearly going after this because of its sensitivity to the Force.
Right.
Or that it's born from the Force. We don't know how any of this stuff happens, right? We don't know the creation of these things. We don't know what they're called. We know nothing. We should know they live for a long time and that they age way slower than we do. So when I watched this, I thought, this is freaking awesome. It's totally unexpected for me. I was not expecting that. A baby Yoda.
Right.
Like, what? It was a bigger reveal and a cooler reveal than what I wanted, than what I thought I wanted, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when he reaches down with his finger and the little Yoda baby reaches his hand, oh my gosh, my heart. I was like, this is going to be good.
Yeah, there was a moment of like tenderness.
Yeah, there was.
There when you had not seen any hint of like emotion the entire episode.
Right.
Let alone the willing to be like tender with something.
Yep.
Beautiful juxtaposition
I
at the
can't
very
wait,
end.
man.
So I want to ask you, like, going back to grade school, the typical A being the best, F being the worst, how would you grade the first episode of The Mandalorian?
Golly, are we doing pluses and minuses?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so there's a minus, then the letter, then the best you can do.
Yeah.
I would give this episode an A minus.
Okay, why?
So it was really, really, really good. A minus is great. I would have killed for that in college, y'all. I would have killed for that. The only reason I give it a minus is because there were some times where I felt like maybe it was dragging just a little bit. Like there was like a weird, like when he's learning to ride the blurg or whatever that thing's called. I was like, okay. Other than that, it was near perfection. That was the only thing where I was like, okay.
So interesting that you give it an A minus. I also give it an A minus. It would have gotten a solid A from me if it would have had this one other thing that I think it was kind of missing. And to me, I know this isn't going to be a Star Wars movie by any normal stretch, but this is a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
And I know we're not focusing on Jedi and all this, but it needed some of that music magic, some of that John Williams score, some piece of music to really kind of make you feel that, like, yes, this is still the Star Wars universe, but this is its own thing. And I felt like if there was anything that was really missing for me, it was a musical score. I did not realize or remember, and I literally just watched this like maybe 15 minutes before we started recording. I can't remember or think of any music really standing out during it. And I kind of realized it when I ended it. I was like, I don't feel that there was like that kind of like Star Wars music feel to it. And that was my only one real knock. I agree with you on the little bit, the ride the blurg, whatever. Like, there was a few spots where the pacing got just a little on the slow side. Not bad.
No. Well-paced show overall for sure.
Yeah, but just, a couple points that could have been a little better done.
Right.
But a little bit of lack of music for my taste. Now that could definitely change because this is a first episode. So I'd say A-.
Understand.
I will also say I'm glad that they didn't give us this season on The Mandalorian.
Right.
And then give us like a preview of what's happening next episode. I don't like that. I just want to come in and watch the next episode.
Yeah.
And be entertained.
Yeah.
Don't kind of give me a preconceived notion of what I think the next episode is going to be about. Stay away from that.
Yep. I agree. I'm super excited. It was a great episode. I mean, they're just like any movie and TV shows. There's very few A's and A pluses I'm going to give out,
especially on the first episode.
Yeah, an A- is great. I was pleasantly surprised. It was better than I thought it was going to be because it was a little bit different than I thought it might be.
Yep.
Which was good. It was awesome. I'm very excited for what's next. A perfect cliffhanger. Thankfully, I only have to wait 3 days this time.
Right.
When soon we're gonna have to start waiting a whole week, and that's gonna be tough.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, Super Friends, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your impressions of the first episode of The Mandalorian. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What stuck out to you? Get up in our socials. Let us know what you thought of the first episode of The Mandalorian, and we will talk about those next week. Matt, we're going to have to figure out what we want to do because I think you and I are going to want to talk about The Mandalorian every week, and we can't do that.
No.
But we may have to do some side podcast project or something to maybe just cover The Mandalorian.
Yep.
So you and I will have to talk this week and come up with something for sure.
Good.
All right, well, Super Friends, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always. Hakuna Makunke. What a wonderful phrase.